Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 1. Our members are me, Adelia, Adila, Amanda Nura, and also Alisa. In this occasion, we will discuss and learn more about endocrine system, from the definition of the endocrine system into the organ that involved in the endocrine system itself. The first one is about the definition of endocrine system. What is the definition of endocrine system? Endocrine system is a collection of cells and glands that produce and release hormones. These hormones are free chemicals that jump into a circulation system and have their impact to our body. And another definition of endocrine system is a communication network similar with the nervous system that control physiological activity but by releasing mediators. But the control in the endocrine system very different with the nervous system. And the second one is about hormone. What is hormone? Hormone is a mediator molecule that is released in one part of the body but regulates the activity of cells in other parts of the body. And most of the hormones enter interstitial fluid and then the bloodstream. The circulating blood delivers hormone to cells throughout the body.
Okay, we are going to compare the endocrine system with the nervous system. And we are going to look at some features of both the nervous system and endocrine system and see what is similar and what is the different. If we look at the method of communication that each uses, the nervous system uses nervous or neurons and it releasing neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters are just chemicals that are released by neurons and nerves. If we look at the endocrine system, instead of being neurons or nerves, it's actually glands or cells. And the chemical they release are hormones, and the chemicals can be water soluble or fat soluble. And second, what is the target for the nervous system? And the target can be other neurons. It can be muscles to tell them to contract or inhibit the contraction or glands. When it comes to the endocrine system, its target is actually any cell in the body that has a receptor. And then the nervous system faster because it is direct. It sends an electrical signal down an axon of a neuron, which then turns into a chemical signal. But for the endocrine system, it's always a chemical signal, and it's a slow signal moving through the body. In actual fact, the nervous system being rapid is millisecond to seconds, and for the endocrine system is slower second to minutes it takes for it to have its effect. If we have a look at the range of effect, we will find the nervous system is very specific and localized because that neuron nerve is basically a direct highway to something specific, to a specific muscle or gland or some sort of tissue with the endocrine system, because that's releasing hormones into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream goes everywhere in the body. It's widespread. The duration of response, how long will the tissue respond to the stimulus with the nervous system? The nervous system being the neurotransmitter with the endocrine system, being the hormone. When it comes to the nervous system, it's very short term millisecond. We will find is when the neuron release its neurotransmitter. It's the synapse that is going to be enzymes that recycle and reuse those neurotransmitters and pull them back into that neuron that just released. That happens very quickly, millisecond. When you look at the endocrine system, we will find the bloodstream will slowly release these chemicals into the area outside of the bloodstream called the interstitial. And it takes a lot longer for these chemicals to be reused and recycled. In actual fact, the effect of the endocrine system can be minutes to days to weeks, and it can be even persist after the stimulus has finished. And the last one is site of mediator action. Nervous system close to site of release at synapse binds to receptor in postsynaptic membrane, while endocrine usually far from site of release binds to receptor on or in target cells.
This is the endocrine glands. The endocrine glands include the pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, and pineal gland. In addition, several organs and tissues are actually not exclusively classified as endocrine glands but contain cells that secrete hormones, and these include the hypothalamus, thymus, pancreas, the gonads, which are testes and ovaries, kidneys. The GI tract organs consist of stomach, liver, small intestine, and as well as skin, heart, adipose tissue, and placenta. And so taken together, all endocrine glands and organs which has hormone secreting cells constitute the endocrine system. And if we zoom in, here are where all the glands and organs are located. And if we're zooming more, here are where they located exactly. The first one, hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So pituitary gland is actually called the master of endocrine gland because it secretes several hormones that control other endocrine glands. And this pituitary also has a master, which is the hypothalamus. And cells in hypothalamus synthesize at least 9 different hormones, and pituitary gland secretes 7. And together, these hormones play important roles in the regulation of virtually all aspects, like growth, development, metabolism, and homeostasis. And the next one is the pituitary glands is actually attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk, the infundibulum, and has 2 anatomically and functionally separate portions, which are the anterior and posterior pituitary. And thyroid gland is actually a butterfly-shaped gland located just inferior to the larynx. It is composed of right and left lateral lobes connected by an isthmus anterior to the trachea. And the next one is parathyroid glands. It is partially embedded in the posterior surface of the lateral lobes of the thyroid, and para here means beside. So parathyroid glands contain 2 kinds of epithelial cells. The more numerous cells called sheath cells or principal cells, and the other one called oxyphil cells. And the next one is paired adrenal glands, or also called suprarenal glands. One of these glands lies superior to each kidney in retroperitoneal space. It has a flattened pyramidal shape. There are 2 functionally and structurally distinct regions of adrenal gland, which are adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. The next one is pancreas. So the pancreas is actually both an endocrine gland and also an exocrine gland. Pancreas is a flattened organ that measures about 12.5 to 15 centimeter in length. And the pancreas is located in the curve of the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, and consists of a head, a body, and a tail. Roughly 99% of the exocrine cells of the pancreas are arranged in clusters called acini. The acini produce digestive enzymes which flow into the GI tract, and scattered among the exocrine acini are 1 to 2 million tiny clusters of endocrine tissue called pancreatic islets. Each pancreatic islet includes 4 types of hormone-secreting cells. First one is alpha cells, which secrete glucagon, and beta cells secrete insulin. Delta cells secrete somatostatin, and the F cells secrete pancreatic polypeptide. And the pineal gland. Pineal gland is a small endocrine gland attached to the roof of the third ventricle of the brain at the midline. Part of the epithalamus, it is positioned between the 2 superior colliculi and covered by a capsule formed by the pia mater. The gland consists of masses of neuroglia and secretory cells called pinealocytes. And the thymus, is located behind the sternum between the lungs. And the last one is the gonads. These are organs that produce gametes, like sperms and oocytes. Female gonad, like the ovaries, are paired oval bodies located in the female pelvic cavity, and male gonads, the testes, are oval glands that lie in the scrotum. And other organs include GI tract organs, placenta, kidneys, heart, and adipose tissue are mentioned here in the table, as well as its hormones.
Pituitary gland, the hormone is antidiuretic hormone or ADH. The function is promote retention of water by kidneys. Oxytocin stimulate contraction of uterus and mammary gland cell. Anterior pituitary growth hormone. The function is stimulate growth, especially bone and metabolic function. The third hormone is prolactin or PRL. The function is stimulate milk production and secretion. The fourth hormone is follicle stimulating hormone or FSH. The function is stimulate production of ovary and sperm. The next hormone is luteinizing hormone or LH. The function is stimulate ovaries and testes. The next hormone is thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. The function is stimulate thyroid gland. And the last hormone is adrenocorticotropic hormone or AHTH. The function is stimulate adrenal cortex to secrete glucorticoid. Melanocyte stimulating hormone or MSH influenza brain activity, causing the darkening of skin. And then is the fetus pineal. The endocrine is melatonin hormone. The function are involve biological rhythms and promote sleepiness. Second, and then the features is adrenal. It has three endocrine. The first endocrine is epinephrine and norepinephrine. The function are raise blood glucose and increase metabolic activities. The second endocrine is glucocorticoid. The function is raise blood glucose level. And then mineralocorticoid. The function is promote reabsorption and applause and excretin of applause in kidneys. And then thymus, it has two endocrine, thymine and thymosine. The function is regular immune cell production. Steroid, the endocrine is thyrodotironin or T3 and thyroxine is T4. The function is regulate growth and control functioning of endocrine gland. The second is parathyroid. The endocrine is calcitonin. The function is control the metabolism rate and it also brings about balanced growth. And parathyroid hormone or PTH, the function is control balance of the body. And then pancreas, the endocrine is insulin, glucagon. The function is control glucose level of the blood. And then testes, the endocrine is testosterone. The function is control growth and development of male reproductive system. And then ovaries, the endocrine is estrogen and progesterone. The function is control growth and development of female reproductive system.
And next, let's talk about the hormone classification. So, chemically, hormones can be divided into two broad classes. Those are that are soluble in lipids, which includes steroids, thyroid, and nitric oxide gas, and those are that soluble in water, which includes amine hormones, peptide hormones, and eicosanoid hormones. And for starter, let's talk about the lipid-soluble hormones. Lipid-soluble hormones, like steroid hormones, are derived from cholesterol, and each steroid hormone is unique due to the presence of different chemical groups attached at various sites of the four rings at the core of its structure. And some examples of steroid hormones are aldosterone, cortisol, testosterone, and as well as estrogen and progesterone, as you can see in the slides. And the second one is the two thyroid hormones, which are T3 and T4. They are synthesized by attaching iodine to the amino acid tyrosine, and the presence of two benzene rings within a T3 and T4 molecules makes these molecules very lipid soluble. And the third one is the gas nitric oxide, or the NO. It is actually both a hormone and a neurotransmitter, and its synthesis is catalyzed by the enzyme nitric oxide synthase. And so, let's move on to the water-soluble hormones. These hormones include amine hormones, peptide and protein hormones, and eicosanoid hormones, as I said earlier. And the first one is amine hormones. These hormones are synthesized by decarboxylating or removing a molecule of CO2 and otherwise modifying certain amino acids. They are called amines because they retain an amino group. And the example of these hormones are catecholamines, which includes epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. They are synthesized by modifying the amino acid tyrosine. And the other example is histamine, which is synthesized from the amino acid histidine by mast cells and platelets. And also serotonin and melatonin. They are derived from tryptophan. And the second one is peptide hormones and protein hormones. They are amino acid polymers. The smaller peptide hormones consist of chain of 3 to 49 acids, while the larger protein hormones include 50 to 200 amino acids. And the examples of these hormones are ADH hormone and oxytocin, and protein hormones include human growth hormone and insulin, and also several of the protein hormones such as thyroid stimulating hormone have attached carbohydrate groups and thus are glycoprotein hormones. And the last one, the eicosanoid hormones. They are derived from arachidonic acid, a 20-carbon fatty acid. The two major types of eicosanoids are prostaglandins or PGs and leukotrienes or LTs. The eicosanoids are important local hormones and they may act as circulating hormones as well.